I had to make the nerve-wracking decision on this job as to whether the scaffolding needed to come back up on this solar job, because this system was installed and it stopped working. It was up to me to diagnose it, and we found the fault, and I'm going to show you exactly what it was. Watch this video to see exactly what happened. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're in a very sunny Bath just outside of Bristol today, where we are at one of our customers' installations where we haven't done this solar installation, but there are big problems here. I came here a couple of months ago and found out that they had issues with one set of their solar panels. There's two sets here. There's big problems with it, and basically I diagnosed it when I was here last time, and it's always a little bit nail biting because obviously from my point of view we've had to come in and have the scaffolding put up and everything, so it's one of those where you really hope that you haven't misdiagnosed and had a bad day. So I quadruple checked it when I was here last time, so whatever the fault is, it's going to be up here somewhere. We have to find it and make sure we get this right the first time, because once the scaffolding goes this time, that's it. Let's go and take a look. I could have swore it was going to be behind that one, but okay. Right, so I've been up in the loft and I know that the section of panels we're looking at here is this bottom section. So we've got pretty much no voltage on the line, so we're going along, and there's only 4 or 5 panels here, so we're just going along methodically and checking every one. We're lifting the panel, checking the connections, and then re-bolting the panel back on. So we know it's not the top section, but what we are doing, the top section is on its own circuit, which is completely fine, but what we are doing is we're just checking the connections behind the top section. As we've got the bottom section off, we can look up behind the panels to the top section and then just check that they're all connected properly, because there's two things that can fail here in a couple of ways, and it's either the connections where the plugs connect together for each one of these panels. It can either fail because of just the manufacturer's plugs have gone defective. So I've not actually come across that yet, but I do know it can happen. I've heard of it, so we're just checking that now. Or the other thing is human error, where they just haven't been clipped together properly. So and there's a mixture of connections up here as well, in terms of the manufacturer's connections where the panels connect together. They're connected together because they've got manufactured plugs on, where they're daisy chained together. But there's also where the cables come from the inverter in the loft out to these panels. Those connections have been done by a contractor, so that would either be the electrician or the roofer. So it's possible for any one of these to fail, basically. So process of elimination at this point. Oh, they did something good. They used one of these. They used one of these jobbies here to this proper flashing here to replace the tiles so that the cables can come out onto the roof. And use these. You cut these bits off, and basically it means that the cables can come out onto the roof nicely. Because otherwise, what will end up happening is if you bring the cables out behind the tiles, for example, then the cables can scuff and rub on the back edge of the tiles and can end up with all sorts of problems. So it can affect the insulation of the wiring. So by having this, I can't remember the actual name of it. Guys, if you're watching, leave a comment, tell me what it is. I can't remember what it's called right now off the top of my head, but yeah, one of these is a very good thing to see on a job. Right. Oh, well, that's going to be it. That is going to be it. Right, okay. Take a look at this. Come to our final section of paneling here. And we haven't checked the upper section yet, but look at this. This is how it was. We haven't disconnected this. You can see it's completely and utterly melted. Wow. That is completely melted. And the other end, which is zip tied down onto the rail here, if my camera can focus on it, take a look at that. That is a major connection fail. Interestingly, so this end, Ben, is this end one of the...
I think that one runs back to the first leg going up.
So this would have been put on by the electrician or the roofer then?
Very possibly.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. We can't say it is that, because there's nothing to say that the actual mechanical, that the actual connection didn't just fail between the two plugs. So one of two things here springs to mind. One of them being that obviously, because this long cable, this cable here that's got the melted plug on, this long cable here, it goes along, it wraps around the rail for some reason and goes back that way. But basically, it's one of the long lines of cable that would have had a connection put on by an electrician or a roofer. So one of two things springs to mind here. Either they just simply didn't connect them together properly and it failed, or the connection was put on, the plug was put on, but the problem is it wasn't put on properly, and so the crimp connection where inside the plug there's a crimped end, and that crimped end could have not gone on properly, and that could have failed. So it could have been human error. Or what was my third option going to be? My third option is that because there's two different types of plugs going together, that could have been what caused the issue. So for example, the end of this MC4 plug here has got its manufactured plug on. So the plug that would have been put on here would have been a different brand, more than likely. So this would have been a different manufactured plug on the end here. So depending on whether it was positive or negative, doesn't really matter at this point, but basically you would have had one manufactured type plug here, and then off the back of the solar panel you would have had another manufacturer's plug. So there's two different brands going on here. So it's possible that where they've connected together they haven't made a good connection, and that could have been the issue. So we will never know, because this is so melted beyond visually inspecting it to any real detail. In fact, I will give it a go when I turn the camera off in just a second, but it looks to me like we're probably never going to get to the very bottom of it, but those are really the only three cases it probably could be. This is the thing, I mean, this is a common thing to have to do though, because obviously where the plugs have their own manufactured ends on, naturally, as installers, we always have to put our own ends on the long cables that come from the inverter. So the cables come from the inverter, they come up here, we then crimp our end on, so we've got our plug, and then we then connect it to the manufactured plug. So this is like common practice of doing this. So, yeah, so it's not like it's unreasonable the way it's been done. However, it does seem like it's two different manufacturers that just haven't gelled well together. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. So this one's a really, really, really tough one to sort of figure out and call, because the point of failure, it looks to be like it's on the end that's been put on by the contractor, and I've just given it a little bit of a pull, and it's very easily the actual DC cable is pulled out from the end of the plug. But at this point it's very hard to tell, because there's been a lot of heat that's happened here that's obviously melted the actual connection. So it was this metal, this DC cable was crimped into the metal connection, and it would have been crimped on really tight. But we have to remember that there would have been a lot of fatigue that would happen in here, a lot of heat. It's potential that metal would have like loosened, expanded, or anything like that, with all the sparking and arcing that would have happened inside of here. It's possible that could have meant that when we came along then and I've given this cable a bit of a gentle tug, that it's pulled out. Or it could mean that it wasn't a very good sound connection, and all that arcing and sparking was because it wasn't a good connection, hence the reason why it's gone into meltdown. So at this point, because the damage is already done, it's very hard to tell whether the crimp connection was at fault here, but it's certainly very suspicious, or whether it's a simple fact where the male and female plugs haven't plugged in quite properly. It could have been they literally didn't go clip together when they were being put together. The connections could have been sound on both the male and female before they went in, and then got plugged in but not quite in properly. Seeing that this has happened on the end that the contractor's put on, it's telling me that it's possible that either it's just a coincidence and they went to plug in and it didn't quite make good enough contact, or it's the fact that two different manufacturers' plugs have tried to go together and they haven't quite made a good connection. So yeah, there's a lot going on here, and we won't really ever get to the bottom of it because it's so melted and so far gone. But one thing we do know is this is obviously going to be the issue. I haven't tested it from in the loft yet, but it's a pretty good, I'm not going to celebrate quite yet, just in case, but we've checked the whole of the installation now, and we can see that this is 99% going to be most likely going to be the issue. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put some new ends, but just before we connect up, I'm going to go into the loft and we're going to take one last reading before the connection's made, and then we're going to see the voltage, hopefully the voltage, climb up very rapidly once the connection gets made. So that's going to be our real trophy moment. So I have sent Ben out to go and grab some bits because we need some bits. So Ben's popped out to grab some MC4s, and basically, yeah, we're in a situation now where full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. In the meantime, I've just popped out to the co-op. This afternoon I've got a solar quote to do, which I'm likely to be in for some hours, a couple of hours no doubt. It's quite a big property. There's lots of assessment to be done and a lot to go through with the customers. So I'm taking myself an early lunch. So I've gone all out today. I've gone for a co-op. I couldn't deal with having a ready-made sandwich for another day, and I didn't have time to make anything this morning, so I've gone for get myself some sort of breaded roll, which is delicious. And in true tradesman style, when you're on site and you have no utensils, you find ways to make your lunch when you want something a bit more. Oh, I got a call coming in. I will grab that in a minute. Yes. But yeah, ham sandwich it is for me today. Handmade by myself. So I'm very happy. And I have myself some beautiful honey roast ham. Super, super thick carved. So not a bad little morning, but yeah, no, I'm so pleased. We found this issue. When Ben's back, I will be fueled and ready to get those connections on, do the final test, and then yeah, get this back together so the customer can start to see some results again from their solar system. Oh, that smells good. Not bad, not bad. Last thing I want to say, top tip, if you're going self-employed and you're going to buy a van, I would recommend definitely getting one with heated seats. Don't get me wrong, if it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't do that well in the cold. I must wrap up. I don't know if it's the Caribbean blood that I've got in me from my granddad coming over to England from Barbados, or whether it's just because I'm tall and slim and blood flow just doesn't work well for me. But I suffer from the cold quite a lot. I'm not afraid of the cold. I'll go out in any weather conditions, but I must wrap up. But one thing that I love about this van is that not only has it got good heating in the van, but it's got heated seats as well. I made sure, seeing that I am going to be running my own show, I'm going to spend a lot of hours in this van, whether it's eating, like you've just seen, or whether it's going to be doing paperwork. I've got my laptop flipped open sometimes. I could be sat in there for a couple of hours. So things like that can be really essential. Or even if it's just if you're stuck in traffic, it's a real godsend. So that is my top tip. Again, if it's not for you, that's fine. But for me, I couldn't be without it now. Okay, now seeing we've got our very obvious issue to resolve here, it's just a simple case of putting on a male and female MC4 connection on. So what I'm going to do is I've got plenty of cable, so I'm going to cut it quite far back like that. So if there is any heat damage to this cable, then all the way up here, it's going to be fine. But at this point, and I'll do the same again with this is the panel connection here. So I'll cut out a good sort of 6 inches back, like so. Now then, we've got our 2 fresh ends now to make off, and I have an MC4 pack here. So we're good to get this one on. It comes as a set. So one pos and neg, so you can make off a connection. Nice and simply, first thing we want to do here is this one here, see the difference between the male and the female? So this is where the actual connection part happens. This is where the male inserts into the female like that. Makes a decent connection. So Normally I throw a little innuendo in there, but I haven't today. I'm being very serious today. but yeah, okay. I'm going to use my set of strippers I've got here. You can just use normal strippers, but I got this stripper comes with the set. So nice and simply, all you need to do here is just, it's a 4mm DC cable. And what I'm going to do is just strip it back like so. Right, got a nice end here. Let's start with the female. So I've got my crimper, and here it says 2.5, 4mm or 6mm. So I've got a 4mm crimp here. This is specifically for doing solar connections, this one. This isn't a regular crimper, right? And here, this makes it really easy. Rather than trying to hold this part and then trying to insert it in here, but holding it by hand, it's far easier to already have it in the actual tool ready. So that it makes it nice and easy, so that when you insert it in like this, try and get every single strand in there. Like so, that's it. Yep. And then nice and easily, squeeze it all the way up like that. It's now, the metal is now crimped onto the actual cable here. See, it's a nice tight fit. So, now I've got my female end here. Oh no. And here's one thing to make sure you don't do is, when you're doing this, these connectors are okay. I've got away lucky here, I think, by the look of it. But what can happen here is you want to get on this part here that does up. So that part on there, you want to put that on first and then crimp this on, because sometimes this can be so tight here, you won't get it over the metal end. I've gotten away lightly here, where we're going to be all right. But basically, this female end here is very deceiving, because you think to yourself that, okay, now I've got the plastic bit. This plastic bit is now the main plug that connects on, that connects to the metal. You would naturally think that this female end would go to this female looking plastic part here, and then this is where the male goes in like that. But it's actually the opposite way around. This isn't the male, this is actually the female part. So it's very deceiving. But so the most important thing to remember here is that when we're calling one of these connectors the male or the female, the female, this one's the positive, it's the female here, which then has the male looking end. So here we go, right? I managed to get away with this, so I've put this on like this. And right, so my connection here is good, that's very important. And as I put this in here, it's very important, as it goes in, I'm looking for a nice positive click sound as it goes in. Let's see if we can get that. Right, here we go. Hold it close to my microphone. Hopefully you hear it. You'll definitely feel it. Click, here's that final click. It moved in a little bit, and then there's a nice little click. Give it a little wiggle like that, just to be sure. And then, what's really important now, this part here, which goes on, is going to now screw up. And as it screws up, it's basically creating like a gland. See this red rubber in here? As this does up on here, this piece of plastic does up onto there, then it squeezes onto that rubber and creates a nice waterproof seal here. So now I've got the end in. You can see the metal is in here, in the end of the female end. Now when I do this up, now to get a visual on that, do it up by hand, and as it does up, can you see the rubber? As I do it up, the rubber tightens and squeezes on around the cable to create a nice tight seal there. And you can see here, this part here does all the way up onto the actual plug, nice and tight. It does all the way up, literally. Some of them, they'll only go up as far as a couple of mil, and then they'll stop. But on this particular plug, I like these, they go all the way up. Right, so that's one. And the case is, simply repeat, except for this time, this is going to be the negative male end now. Right, this time I will put on my plastic bit like so, and then here we go. Here's my male end. Now I could hold it like this and then try and put my crimping tool around it, but it's going to be difficult because I'm holding onto it. I'm holding two things. It's not good. So this is why I said to put it into the actual tool first. Ooh. If it's a little bit wide, then just squeeze it a little bit by finger. Right, make sure it sits in there just right. And then It inserts into there nicely. Give it a squeeze like that. Hold on to it, give it a little pull, nice and tight. And then I've got my very deceiving looking female end, which is actually the male. So that this male now goes straight into here, push in again, get that click, ready. There's a few clicks then. It's definitely gone in. You can see it sat in there quite nicely now. That's sat in there all well and good. And now this plastic bit does up. Again, it's going to tighten up onto that rubber. And as it tightens up, it does up nicely. On this end, the actual rubber just disappears behind in there. But you can see here, it's done all the way up here, which is great. And now, oh, I really want to plug them together to finish this off for you guys, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to go into the loft now and get this reading to still show, because it's been because it's been inactive for a while. What I want to do is go back into the loft and just get that multimeter reading of the voltage, and then I'm going to do the final connection here, get Ben to connect these while I'm in the loft, and then we'll see that voltage suddenly spike up. With situations like this, there's always a lot of trust going on. There's obviously the customers put their loft ladder up for me, which is very kind. And it's very precarious looking. There's one of these telescopic ones, which I've never really been, I've got nothing against them, but it's just the knowing that they're telescopic and the fact that they can retract if they weren't faulty. But yeah, basically, as you can see here behind me, it goes up into the loft. But look what happens if it does retract. I'm not just coming down to the floor, I'm going down a full flight of stairs right there. Straight to doom. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But it's just, yeah, I'm always feeling a little bit unsure about these ladders. Right, here I am in our moment of truth. Here, these two isolators here are the solar strings that are outside. So this one here is controlling the panels on that top row that's outside, and then this one here is the one that's got which has the fault, where I've been getting basically no voltage on it. And yes, we have found our issue. So Ben's just outside on the other side of the roof. I'm in the roof, he's outside on the roof, and he's about to plug that connection together on my nod, and we should see my multimeter come to life. So what I'm going to do is I put my positive and negative test leads, just so you can see what I'm using here. I'm just using a standard multimeter with red and black leads on it. So I'm simply going to put them in like so into my connections. Right, we'll put the red probe into the positive and the black into the negative here. Doesn't really matter, I'll still get a reading either way. It'll just come up with minus DC voltage or positive DC voltage. But yeah, I've put it around the right way. So basically, I currently have, I don't know if you can see that, but currently I've got a reading which is jumping around, but basically there's no voltage there, there's nothing. Right, okay Ben?
Yeah, ready.
Here we go. Ready? Okay. Right, go for it. Oh, there it is. Look at that. That was instant. 222 volts, 221 volts. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. How many panels we got on that circuit?
5 or 6.
5 or 6. So we need to do some quick math. What voltage were those panels? They were
30.9, 39.
Yeah, about 39 were they? Or were they 38? Yeah, about 39.
39.
What's 5 times 39?
195.
195?
Yeah.
That was very quick math. How did you do that so fast? Pardon?
I'm good at math.
Have you got your calculator on that?
Definitely not.
Definitely not? He's lying. He must be lying. Right, okay. So, okay. Sorry, what did you say the voltage was again?
39 times 5
Yeah.
is 195. 39 times 6 is 234.
Okay, so we're somewhere in between.
Got it.
Yeah, we're somewhere in between. So, bearing in mind, I'll explain this to both the camera and to Ben, that bearing in mind it does depend on the actual light levels. This isn't optimal perfect test conditions right now. So with the fact that the sun has gone away a little bit. Still pretty light out there. Still very light out there, obviously, but it's not direct sunshine right now. You will expect to see a little bit of a tail off with the voltage just slightly. So yeah, did you get that, Ben? Yeah, we're good. Right, okay, but that is very good. I'll stop shouting now. So that is very good. We can now connect this string straight into the inverter. Currently it's been working on the one string while the other one's been isolated while we get this issue fixed. But now it means we can get this fully connected back up and get the situation put to bed. So the final thing to do now is just simply get this connected back in. Clip, clip. They're both clipped back in now. Great, okay. The funny thing about these inverters, this is the Grow Watts. It's a few years old, and they got this technology in them where you tap them. You got to tap. There's no buttons to press. I'm not a fan, I got to be honest, but you got to tap it, and it brings up the menu. It seems very strange to me. This is very weird, and I don't fully understand how to do it. But I do know that when it's either tap twice or tap 3 times. I couldn't get one of these to work once, and so I called up Grow Watt and said, how do you deal with the menu functions? And they said, oh, you need to tap it. So yeah, I'll probably have to go online and look, because what I want to see is the voltage and ampage of string 1 going into here and string 2 going into here. So I've obviously tested it using my multimeter, but now I'm putting the plugs in and Ben's just screwing that panel down outside. I just want to then confirm that everything's working fine with, it's reconnected nicely to the inverter, and the inverter's accepting the power coming from the solar panels to the back to the inverter, so it can go back into the property. So once I've got that confirmed, I'll be super happy. Then I know everything is completely fine. Okay, power on time. Really. That's good. That's great. We've got voltage on both strings, we've got wattage on both strings, we've got ampage there as well on both. So all the vital stats are good. So this system is finally up and running. The panel's back in position now, so it's not moving anymore. So we can confidently come away from this system now, knowing that everything is okay. So guys, there we have it. That is the end of the video. We've managed to get the fault sorted out. It got diagnosed from my last visit of being here. We've come back with scaffold to get this sorted out. I'm very pleased to say everything's up and running now, and this installation could go back to normal. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and hit that subscribe button as well if you want to see more content like this. We fit a lot of SIG Energy systems, so we're going to be doing install projects and videos on that. We're going to be showing you all about the batteries, the gateway systems, the solar backup functionality, all of that sort of stuff. We're going to go through so much on this channel, so please do like and subscribe to it. But also, just before you go and do that, think about this. I also have an electrical channel as well, where we're making a lot of high-end content touching on some very serious subjects in the electrical industry. So if that's something that interests you, I'll leave a link in the description. In fact, I'll even try and make a video pop up somewhere here to show our last electrical YouTube video. It's had a lot of hits. It's run about 500,000 views right now. It's done very well. Go and check it out. But also like and subscribe to that channel as well, guys. And yeah, I'll be seeing you on many more videos to come.